This is Dylan Bowker with Sportskeeda MMA, and very excited to be talking to an individual competing at Ex-UFC 50, which transpires on April the 12th. We've got Monica Medina and Pearl Gonzalez stepping out there for the co-main event bout, and great getting to talk to Pearl today. How are you doing?
I am amazing. Thank you so much for having me on. Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, no, it's cool to see you back in the MMA ranks too. It just seems like you're at a good point in your career with seemingly wanting to concurrently do both boxing and MMA, so that must be cool for you.
Yes, it's very, very exciting. It's been a couple years since I've competed in this sport, but there's no doubt that it is probably the biggest love of my life. I've been competing in MMA for a long time. I love grappling. I love the wrestling, the judo, and everything else that comes together with the kicks and stuff. And so as much as I'm in love with boxing and have been, there is no doubt that there's a piece of me it's really missed the MMA and the rest of the skills that I have that I've been unable to use. So I'm very excited to go out there next week and put them all to put them on display.
Yeah, and it seems like you're back at 10th Planet San Diego as well, which seems like a bit of a homecoming as well in a certain sense. So, I mean, that must be kind of cool. I mean, getting back to the roots in another kind of regard almost.
Oh my goodness, you have no idea how amazing it feels to be back home. It reminds me of when I was young, and it's interesting because I'm staying at a girlfriend's house right now, so I have a room there, and then one of my coaches let me use one of his cars, and it's like this little hunk of junk, and so it feels like when I was in my 20s and I was hungry again, and I live a very simple life. I came out here with 10 pairs of training clothes. I only have training gym shoes, it's very simple. I'm living a very simple life at this point. It's routine, it's gym and home and rest, and I am just so grateful to do this again and to kind of just to be back in the grind. The training is intense, 6 to 8 hours a day. Lots of grappling right now, lots of wrestling. I've been training obviously mostly stand-up and striking, so just kind of meshing and putting all my pieces together, as well as getting back on the mats and getting familiar with everything on the ground.
Yeah, no, for sure, and just some cool combat sports efforts over the years as well. And I think there were some people that were maybe wondering what you were, getting up to in a bare-knuckle sort of sense as well. And from what I was gleaning from some interviews, it seems like the only thing that would, I guess, perhaps entice you back there is like a Britan Hart rematch. So is that safe to say that you've maybe closed the book on bare-knuckle, at least for now?
Bare-knuckle boxing, yes, unless a good fight. I loved my fight with Britan Hart. I won that fight, but the animosity, the rivalry there was very real, and I live for those kind of fights. Like, I live for the war, I live for the blood, I live for the yelling back and forth, like the passion that's behind where you wholeheartedly want to hurt this person and you're back and forth screaming at each other. I love that. That is where I'm at this point in my career. Is the reality is I don't have to fight anymore. I know that I have other skills, I have other ways to live my life. I do this because I love this sport, I love competing, I love fighting, and I only want to take fights that are risky, that get me excited, that make me want to wake up in the morning and go and train and work hard. And that's kind of why I chose the route that I did with going back to MMA. It's risky. I haven't been in this sport for 3 years, and in the 3 years, this sport has significantly evolved and improved tremendously, especially because of the pandemic. And so it's a risk for me to come back after taking some time off and focusing on my striking, to come back into this and kind of play catch up. And I love that. I love that fear that presents, and the excitement that it presents, and the risk overall. And so I'm looking forward to putting all of my new skills on display next week and showcasing what and how I've evolved as a striker.
Yeah, and definitely many things to talk about with the fight, but I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't follow up on that prior comment, because you were saying you were, putting the, bare-knuckle boxing on the back burner, but you have obviously fought under that game-bred banner before. Is there interest in bare-knuckle MMA at some point?
Yeah, of course there is. I would love to do that. I think that bare knuckle MMA is a realistic thing for me to compete in, and even karate combat is something that's very realistic for me. And what that'll do for me for my next chapter in my career and in my life and in the sport is that will knock off every single professional combat sports there is for me to compete in. And I want to do that. Now, if other opportunities present themselves, they will take precedence, but yes, I would love to compete in bare-knuckle MMA. I love bare-knuckle. Bare-knuckle to me was the sport that reminded me. I grew up in the hood, and I fought a ton growing up as a kid and as a teenager. I loved to fight. I was never a bully. I didn't pick on people, but we fought. That's kind of how we dealt with our issues in the neighborhood. And so bare-knuckle reminded me of that, and learning how to hit and learning how to hit with your knuckles, and even the fear of you don't need to get hit hard to get cut open. I think that I love bare-knuckle, and so yes, bare-knuckle MMA is absolutely something that I'm not opposed to competing in.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a long road since that first Pancration match at 11, eh?
It's been quite the journey. It's so fascinating to kind of sit back and just reminisce on everything and the fights and the competition since I was a kid and kind of where the sport is today. It's beautiful. I am truly blessed and very grateful that my body, my health has given me this much time to do what I love so much.
Yeah, and I even saw you did a bit of a power slap audition there. You got Gary DeFranco there, so maybe that'll be going on soon. Who knows?
I've talked to Power Slap several times. They know that I'm game. They know that I'm interested in it. Again, like it's a new combat sport. It's and I love being kind of one of the first to get in there and to try these crazy sports. I love to fight. I love to compete. I love war. Period. And so yes, I'm game for that too. And yes, Gary had to take one for the team.
Yeah, I didn't envy him in that spot. It looked like he had packed a wall up there.
I feel like he liked it, but I was kind of nice to him, but I definitely wanted to slap the shit out of him. It's actually pretty fulfilling to slap the shit out of someone, to be honest.
Yeah, just I love the openness to all these different combat sports, but I mean Monica Medina seems to fit well within that also, just in the sense that she's competed in bare knuckle MMA as well as mixed martial arts and bare knuckle boxing also. So in saying that, like, what are your thoughts on Monica Medina's resume and just overall skill set?
I think that Monica has a lot of skill. She has a lot of experience, and yes, she's competed in bare knuckle boxing, but she also became the champion over there, and that to me speaks volumes. That all I needed to hear was champion to make this fight, exciting for me, and a striker at that. So I know that she's got hands. I know she's not scared to get hit. I know that she's gonna sit in the pocket, and we're gonna exchange strikes. And I am looking forward to that. That again is what I live for today in competing. And I want to get in the pocket. I want to stand and trade, and I want to see who can handle whose shots and who hits harder.
Yeah, I mean, she had a great trilogy series with Patricia Juarez over that BYB title. I mean, you strike me as someone that also, as much as you're an active fighter, is also a fan and kind of follows the landscape. Like, did you check out all those fights? It kind of seems like you did.
Yes, I did. I was able to watch her. I think that she's got really good ones and twos. And again, she took some good shots in that, and she kept coming forward and kept going after the win. And so yes, I did watch her the 3 fights between them. I like her style. It's interesting because in my pro debut in boxing, I competed in Biloxi. And she just so happened to come to the fight, and I was not introduced to her. I'd never seen her before. I've heard of her, but I had never seen her. And as soon as I was done winning my boxing match, I stepped out of the ring, and I was hugging my mom or my aunt right as soon as I stepped out. And I looked over, and I could see her squaring me up and looking at me up and down, and instantly in that moment, I can fight this girl at some point. And there's no animosity there, I respect her, but I knew at that point, the very first time I saw her, that I would be fighting her. So it's kind of funny that here we are, we're going to meet next week.
That's kind of interesting. Like, I wonder what her thought was in terms of what the discipline might be that she wanted to run it with you in. But I mean, based on both of your resumes, I guess you're down for pretty much whatever. So that's kind of interesting. I guess at this point, you can really just pick up on that energy when someone is kind of sizing you up and whatnot. Like you said, not disrespectfully, but that there's maybe that competitive desire.
Exactly. It's exactly what I felt and saw when we locked eyes. And you're right. And she's a striker, but I'm pretty sure she's also a brown belt in grappling. So she's just got a ton of experience everywhere. She's tough, she's gritty, and she's experienced, and was a champion. And to me, that gives me a lot of respect, and that is what excites me. That is what got me up every single morning. That's what kept me in the gym for 8 hours a day, training as hard as I could when I was tired and sore and needed a break. It kept me going, was knowing that about her, and knowing the challenges that she will present to me and how she's going to force me to grow. Regardless of the outcome of the fight, she's forced me to grow as a fighter and as a competitor, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's cool to see you expand your combat sports knowledge into other spaces as well. Like I saw you were doing in-cage interviews with Icon FC. Would you like to do more work like that, like more analyst/broadcast-oriented work?
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I do the commentary for Icon. We haven't had shows in this last year, but Icon FC, I've done all of the commentary for that. I've done several other shows. I had a podcast with UFC Fight Pass, a pre and post fight show with them. I love it. I really do. I wasn't quite sure where all the training. I've gone and traveled all over the world to train. I'm very intellectual. Like, I need to really understand what this move is. Why am I doing this? And I didn't quite know what I would do with all this knowledge afterwards. And today I know that I can tell a story, and I can help tell the story to a fan that doesn't quite understand what's happening, and help explain and guide them through a fight. Or I love telling the fighters' stories and how they got there. To me, that's such a huge piece of who we are. And so, yes, after I'm done fighting, I will absolutely stay in the space. There's nothing I love more other than fighting. There's nothing I'm more passionate about, and it keeps me growing. It keeps me learning in this space. And so 100% I plan on analyst and commentary work after I'm done fighting.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Definitely a lot of great know-how. I mean, you've been to so many high levels in so many different combat sports, and it is interesting because, like you said, you do have that ability to, I guess, appeal to someone who might be checking it out for the first time, but also serving that master of maybe people that are regularly checking it out. So yeah, it seems like you kind of court that fine balance well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it's always good to see that, but something that I was also seeing on the Instagram there, it looked like you were checking out a little WWE action in Chicago, like you were at Survivor Series. What was that whole thing like?
Oh my goodness, it was so exciting. It was my first live WWE event I went to, and CM Punk returned, in which I actually did a couple shows with CM Punk. We did some analyst work together years ago, and so he's just a friend of mine, and he's such a great, respectful man. And so, kind of like, to see the Chi-Town crowd go crazy for him, I was going crazy for him, and to watch Mommy compete, it was so cool. I loved it, and it was interesting because there were several fans that kind of stopped me, and they knew who I was, and I just wasn't prepared for that. But it was really cool to see not only like the dynamic of the WWE and the live performance, the lights, the show and all of that, but also to see like the fan base, and like they had the belts. They reminded me a lot of MMA fans, which I'm sure a lot of them are both MMA and WWE fans.
Yeah, it kind of made a certain amount of sense because obviously you're in a shoot fighting line of work, but it seems like you, I guess, are aware of that like persona, like presentation kind of aspects with like just even how you present yourself, speak, the way in outfits. Like it seems like you can appreciate that idea as well, just like how much it's driven by that component also.
Yes, I love it, and you took it right out of my mouth. I am inspired by a lot of the female wrestlers, and their outfits. I love looking at them. I love seeing how they piece their fits together. All of my fight outfits or weigh-in outfits are typically handmade from my aunt, and we kind of I'll give her some inspiration, I'll give her an idea, I'll give her color, I'll give her the kind of the vibe that I want to go for, and she'll go and she runs with it, and she puts these pieces together by hand most of the time. And so we do. We're constantly looking at different outfits for inspiration for the next fight, the next weigh-in, and WWE is a big place that I pull inspiration from.
Is this something you've been like a fan of for a while? I guess I couldn't really glean from the video whether it was like oh yeah, I'll check this out, or if you've been like kind of watching it for a certain period of time, I suppose.
I watched it a lot when I was young. When I was in my teens, I was a big fan of it. And then, as the years went by, it's kind of hard to follow a lot of other sports outside of my sport. And so here and there, when I do get the opportunity, I'll watch. I'm a big fan of a lot of the actual wrestlers, so I follow them on social media and I get to see that. But I don't actually follow and watch the Monday Night Raws and the actual shows. It's something, if I had more time to do, I would love to kind of dive into, because again, the performances were out of this world. They were unreal and fun, and how the cage threw me off, where they had this big huge cage, and then every 3 minutes a new wrestler came in, and there was at one point 1 versus 3, and I was just holy shit, what is this? Is insane. So it's very exciting and really cool, but I don't follow it from a week to week basis.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, there's only so much time in the day. I even kind of feel that with what I do, I suppose. But I mean, just speaks to how deep you are in your martial arts pursuits, and it just seems like it's really served you in so many ways in life. I saw a Bleacher Report feature where you had a stint in jail and were even homeless at one point, and you're just talking about it in another feature, how this is really your life's work and this is art to you. How much catharsis do you, I guess, get from this art and the day-to-day lifestyle of being a martial artist?
Oh my goodness, it really has saved my life and changed my life for the better. Yes, when as young as my parents, both of my parents were addicted to drugs and very heavy drugs, and actually most of my family were involved at some point or another into drugs. And so growing up in the hard parts of Chicago and in some of these tough neighborhoods in Chicago, you don't have a lot of examples of athletes. I remember Michael Jordan. I was infatuated with the 90s Bulls and the three-peat, and that time I would sit and watch and keep score and cry when they lost. And that was at that point my only real inspiration for athletes. And even when I started fighting, sure, I was told by my coach, it wasn't until then that I was introduced where you can fight, you can become a world champion, you can do this as a professional. And even then, it wasn't really big yet. I think Tara La Rosa and Gina were just kind of really starting to grow at this time. And so with fighting, fighting not only gave me an outlet. My dad raised me as a single parent. My dad got his shit together before my mom did. He raised me as a single father, and he worked all the time at Firestone, and so I either had to go hang out at Firestone, which was a pain in the ass for him and for me, or he had to find something for me to do. And so he found a mixed martial arts gym, and at this time it wasn't called MMA, it was called No Holds Barred. And I started there, and I just remember the coach telling my longtime coach telling my dad, don't you worry, I'm gonna discipline her, and I'm gonna teach her how to fight. Not only that, but I'm going to teach her respect. And then I remember looking at this guy who the fuck does this guy think he is? And within the week, I was doing hundreds of push-ups. And it was at that time that I began to understand and learn respect, learn discipline. And then through that, it was, going into a fight. So even the first fight, I'll never forget the moment in which I was right before I went out there, felt like I was having a heart attack. My heart was beating so hard. I didn't know. I was oh my God, this is, what is it? That feeling you feel right before a fight, your heart's beating out of your chest? I hate that. And it's adrenaline. And it's all of these emotions mixed into one. So learning how to control yourself in such a big moment like that, it feels right before a car accident, when your stomach falls and you don't know whether to freeze or do you push on your brakes or do you swerve. That is what a fight feels like. And to learn how to control your mind, control your breathing, control your body, it is intense. And I felt that when my dad passed away, I felt that same moment. I had to, when I was so scared in these moments with my dad, when I felt like I was losing my dad and he wasn't breathing and stuff, and learning how to put my fight face on in huge moments in my life, and controlling myself and disciplining myself has been huge. But aside from that, the diet, learning how to focus on what I'm eating, how and what these foods and how they affect my body when I'm dehydrated, so it just opened this door for me wanting to become better. And then the mental side of the fight game, I had a hard time for a long time dealing with my mindset, dealing with confidence and belief, self-belief in myself. And so all of these things led me to picking up books, to reading, and I only have a high school education, but I have read so many books, whether it be mindset, nutrition, self-help books, personality, worked on my personality, worked on my character, enhanced my character and my traits there, and the discipline. I chose this lifestyle most of my life. I chose to train hard, to be away from my family, to give up parties, to give up fun times, to give up time with my family that I'll never get back again, to be focused. And really, I've sacrificed everything, including water, including food, everything, to compete and to be a part of this sport. And it's easy to do that even for the first couple years and to be committed. Try 15 years of that. I have so much respect for when you look at like a Dustin Poirier, and you look at these athletes that have been in the sport forever, like Teixeira. Look at him, 42, became a UFC champion. Like, the amount of perseverance, the amount of character that's been broken down and had to be rebuilt, and the change and the effort that has to be put forth in something like this is incredibly difficult. And so, yes, through this sport, it has changed my life in every single aspect of it. And yes, I've given and sacrificed a lot, and I've missed a lot, and I've sacrificed my marriage. I've given a lot to this sport, but I would do it all over again if I had the opportunity to.
No, that's incredible. I mean, I feel like that would be a great way to, end things off on. But I'm kind of curious because I, want to be mindful of your time and schedule, obviously, but curious if maybe there was a final parting thought that you did want to add as we were wrapping up, Pearl.
No, I'm really grateful for this opportunity with Ex-UFC. I think that it's quite unique that Ex-UFC, I fought for them and competed in the very beginning of my career, and they are what jump-started and kick-started my MMA and my professional career was Ex-UFC, and some of my greatest moments in the sport were with this organization. And so I find it's so unique. I think that I get to kind of come back to this sport again with Ex-UFC, and I have no doubt that this is going to be an incredible experience for me next week. I look forward to having exciting fights and to going against Monica and stepping inside this cage and seeing who can throw harder and who's the last woman standing. I believe she's going to bring that same mentality, and I know what I'm bringing to this cage, and I'm really looking forward to just showcasing all the new skills that I have as a fighter and experience, and just going to war with her. I respect her, but none of that matters when that cage door closes. I'm coming. I want to finish. I want to see her fall. I'm not going to stop throwing until she falls or I fall. I'm willing to go out on my shield and just have an exciting night. I am so grateful. I don't know how many more of these are left, and if I ever do get to step inside a cage again, I do know though next week I have given my all, and I just want to go out there and put on a fun show for the fans and a fun show for the organization.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool components to it, and very excited to see the fight come to fruition on April 12th with Ex-UFC 50, and just really wanted to thank you for making time with me and, being on the Sportskeeda MMA platform, and just really excited to see this Monica Medina fight. But until then, you have a good rest of your day, Pearl, and yeah, thank you so much for the great insights.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you at the fight next week, and I can shake your hand after I get a knockout.